How to be valued without saying a single word. Have you ever wondered how someone can turn their life around completely? Meet Tom Hardy, a British actor who went from being a troubled youth to one of Hollywood's top stars. This guy was expelled from school, battled alcohol and drugs, and even faced jail time. Yet these didn't stop him. Tom Hardy is famous for his striking looks, his unique personality, and powerful performances. This has won him many nominations and awards. And the best part? Tom Hardy has mastered the art of being valued without saying a word. In this video, we'll explore Tom Hardy's journey and some Stoic principles that keep him going. If you want people to value you without saying a word, keep watching. You'll find practical lessons that will transform your life. Be willing to polarize. One thing that makes Tom Hardy stand out is that he isn't trying to get everyone to like him. In the movie The Revenant, Tom plays Fitzgerald, a character we dislike for his attitude to people and animals. But then Tom plays it with so much depth. He's the realest guy you can see on your screen. We understand his background and why he behaves the way he does. You'll learn about his terrible past later on in this video. In Stuart, A Backwards Life, Tom plays Stuart Shorter, a homeless alcoholic who leads a complicated life due to his troubled past. Tom plays the role with warmth, humor, and empathy, making viewers love him. Of course, some people judged him because they didn't understand what shaped his career. No doubt Tom Hardy is a brilliant actor, but he doesn't choose roles to look good or make people like him. He opens himself to people's judgments regardless of how controversial they are. You see, the world is complex. People want to be loved either personally or professionally. They want to be in the good books all the time, but it doesn't work that way. For Stoics, the most important thing to value is themselves. That is, they see themselves as their best partner and invest within. Being successful on the inside affects your external relationships. You need to value yourself first before others can look up to you. So if you're struggling with likability, be like Tom Hardy, who doesn't mind what people think about him, but stays true to himself all of the time. Speaking of being true to oneself, there's another trick to be valued without uttering a single word. Here's how it works. Allow yourself to have authentic reactions. Authenticity is a virtue, but many people are afraid to show it because they worry about what others might say. While most actors keep their personal lives a mystery, Tom Hardy is not afraid to tell it as it is. During a press conference, he was asked whether he would be replacing Craig as Bond. He responded, "I think anyone would consider doing Bond, wouldn't they?" Similarly, a journalist asked if he had experimented with homosexuality in the past, and his response was straightforward. In a 2008 interview with the gay magazine Attitude, he made a surprising revelation. He admitted to engaging in acts of homosexuality because he's an actor. In his words, "I've played with everything and everyone, but I'm not into men sexually. I love the form and the physicality, but the gay sex bit does nothing for me." Love him or not, Hardy doesn't change himself to please anyone. He'll never want to pretend to like something just because it's popular. And yes, that's the spirit of Stoicism. The four cardinal virtues of Stoicism are courage, moderation, justice, and wisdom. All these are linked to sincerity. Holding on to your aspirations no matter what happens around you makes you more valued. According to Stoic philosopher Epictetus, we are born into essential goodness, endowed with natural intuitions about what is good and worthy and what is not. This endemic moral capacity must then be trained deliberately and systematically to bring out its best in full maturity. This teaching shows that you can be truly authentic through deliberate training and education. One way to practice authenticity is to examine your dealings with others. Are you a people pleaser? Do you go out of your way to displease yourself just to be liked? Are you constantly in situations that don't ally with your values? If so, make deliberate efforts to withdraw yourself and discover the real you. Constantly remind yourself why you are special. That way, you make room for more courage, wisdom, moderation, and justice. Another reason people do not value you is the illusion of perfection. There's only one perfect person in the world, and it's definitely not you. Do you want to find out how embracing imperfections can make you more valued? Keep watching. If there's any such thing as the best actor of his generation, it would be Tom Hardy. This guy never gives the impression that he's had a terrible past, but then his childhood experiences could have broken any man. And the best part? He's not scared to share them. In an interview with the Prince's Trust, the London-born actor opened up about his struggles. At first, he didn't want anyone to know about his past, but on second thought, he realized it could help others. Tom experimented with hallucinogenics when he was only 13. Even though he came from an affluent London family, he was thrown out of a boarding school for theft. To keep himself busy, he turned to hard drugs. He was also arrested for stealing a Mercedes and held for gun possession at 17. Although the actor studied method acting at Drama Centre London, his addiction got worse. After a crazy incident in Soho in 2003, Hardy decided to seek help. Listening to others share their experiences made him realize he had a problem. Eventually, he took therapy seriously and overcame his addiction. Today, he moves from one movie set to another to keep his mind busy. He fears that if he lets his guard down, he could relapse into addiction. Now, what's the point? Stoicism does not preach perfection. Having flaws doesn't mean you're flawed. Epictetus' most powerful line is about how it's not things that upset us, but what we think about those things. This means that your perception of a disadvantage is more powerful than the objective reality. For instance, if Tom Hardy told himself that he failed, then he might have become one. He wouldn't have had the courage to hit the big screen and make an impact. Producers and directors would only consider him a good fit for a minor role. So Tom Hardy was paid a whopping $20 million for his role in Sony's Venom 3. That's a huge investment to throw around at any random actor. But then this guy is worth every dime. Tom refused to believe that he was broken and an addict. Instead, he chose to tell a better story. He learned about how powerful and talented he was, and built on that strength. Again, you may have problems, but you are not the problem. Even if you made mistakes, you are not the mistake. Keep your head high and watch people value you without saying a word. Moving on, there's one more trick to get people to value you more. It might sound selfish, but it's the secret to being taken seriously. Are you curious to know how this works? Keep watching to find out. Prioritize your comfort. Most people do everything to avoid attracting attention. For them, life is about doing what is expected and not what makes them feel good. Ironically, this is why people might not value you. Look at Tom Hardy. He appears at several press events and interviews wearing casual clothing instead of formal attire. Unlike the usual expectations of suits and ties, Tom does what feels right for him. In another viral moment while promoting the movie The Revenant, Tom Hardy started eating a snack midway through the interview. This seemed off because the world was watching, and he was expected to be composed. But no, Tom was hungry and needed to eat something. Prioritizing your comfort isn't about getting people's approval. It's about doing what works for you. A few seconds later, Leonardo DiCaprio and the interviewer were interested in the smoked chocolate chips. They asked to try, and Tom obliged. This situation often happens when you're tense and need to break the tension around you. When you're uncomfortable, it could decrease your confidence and self-esteem. That way, people are less likely to value your input. Imagine if Tom Hardy was fidgeting during his interview because he was uncomfortable. Who would take him seriously? Don't get me wrong. Stoics sometimes advocate for voluntary discomfort, where you replace your usual comfort with being uncomfortable. It says you should forego certain pleasures because it helps in self-discovery, makes you more resilient, and boosts your confidence. However, this shouldn't erode the comfort you deserve. Sometimes stepping out of your comfort zone makes you a desperate people pleaser. No one will value you if you do so much to prove a point. But when you're comfortable in your space, they will naturally come around you. And the best part? You didn't force them. That way, things would flow naturally. Have you ever felt undervalued? How did you handle it? Please share your experiences in the comments below and inspire others with your experience.